I shared the debate between Gail and James White in it, and I've gotten some blowback from it. I want to respond to questions and concerns that people have about the trajectory of that group, about my stance on Gail, and all these different things. So here's one of the comments that I got on the debate. And by the way, anything that I added a whole bunch of material to that description. So if you guys think I left anything out, please let me know. And to be clear, Gail considers that debate to be an ambush, and she does not want to call it a debate. So anyways, sorry. That's pretty much the summation of what I said in the first 5 minutes. And here's a comment that I got. David Boone. No, it is really grainy. Okay. So how can I remedy that quickly? I got this comment on the James White versus Gail Riplinger debate thing, which we're going to discuss on another stream. We're not going to discuss it in detail tonight. Maybe some things here and there. So one of the comments I got was, "Brother, what happened to you?" Now, this is something that I've gotten a comment on before. So, brother, what has happened to you? I can tell that you are drifting. You're not trying to, you are also trying to emulate the style of Mark Ward's videos. Maybe because I shot outside. I have done that before. I don't know. That's why the Bible tells us to mark and avoid. Wait, you're clearly watching him and being taken in and beguiled. That's why the Bible tells us to mark and avoid. Are you part of a local church? You need to be established in the faith. I don't want to see you drift away. Now, this is in response of me sharing the debate between Gail Riplinger and James White, because I believe that AV Publications has purposefully not offered that debate, that discussion. Anything related to the Pat Shaughnessy program, actually, to my knowledge, they don't offer any of it, which I think is very telling, and I mentioned that in the video. Drifting away from what I said, that, I wanted people to make up their own minds about what they thought about the debate and stuff like this. And just the mere fact that the name James White appeared in the title because it's part of the video, that's enough to warrant the idea that I am drifting away from the faith. Huh? Okay. And I've had a lot of responses from people that have said, I'm glad that you're, that you're presenting this impartially, and that you're like, make up your own mind, come to your own conclusion, stuff like that. That is something that we hardly ever get in King James onlyism, FYI. I don't remember, Ruckman, Gip, Riplinger, any of the people that are in this part of King James onlyism, excuse me, I don't remember any of them actually saying, look at the material for yourself, look at it objectively, do your research, come to your own conclusions. I've never heard them say that. I've heard Gail say that you should go and read such and such book, and, there'll be chills running up and down your spine and stuff like this. And, oh, wow, we're going to talk about all that stuff. It's going to be so much fun. So, and then he had, at the end of it, he said something about, Gail is a woman who shouldn't be debating men anyway and stuff like this. And I'm just like, okay, well, she did apparently challenge all of the people on the Ankerberg show to a debate. So that's how that worked. I appreciate her book, even if she got some things wrong. Oh no. We're going to talk about that too. I thought, growing up as a Riplingerite, I became a Riplingerite on my own means. I wasn't even raised with the King James Bible. Let's just be clear on that. I wasn't. Came to these things on my own study, my own research, listening to people for myself, all this stuff. And I became King James only around 2010-ish, something like that. Well, not 2010. I was introduced, I believe, around 2009 and 2010. And I officially, I guess you would say, accepted it in 2011. So I used to think that she was correct and misunderstood. That's one of the main reasons that I started. One of the reasons that I hardly ever mention of why I started this channel, the Bible Version Conspiracy, to help stir up conversation and get exposure for Gail and her theories, because I thought that she had never been looked at fairly and given a fair chance based on the information that she produced. That's what I thought. Boy, was I wrong. I don't think the video has changed. It has not. Alrighty. So yeah, I will say that what I have found to be issues in her book, we'll get to this in a minute. Two of the things that I have found to be wrong with her book that are coming to the top of my head right now. Two. Out of, I would say, roughly 100 different items. About two of them are ones that I have heard people criticize her for before. The other 100 or so, those are ones that I've found myself by checking every resource that she gives, every quotation and citation that she gives in one chapter of New Age Bible versions. And I have found one thing in that chapter to be accurate. Off the top of my head, there may be two or three more. There's a few places where it's like, yes, that's true. This is true. That is true. But I would say that you would be able to count them on one hand. The things that she actually got correct in this chapter. And it sucks. It is though. Let's not get distracted with that right now. Why the heck am I making this live stream? What's the point? I've got 4 big reasons for making this live stream. Now pay attention. First reason. Because of the question that you have asked. Oh, I will give you an example, frankly, my dear. I will. Don't worry about it. We're going to be launching out on a gigantic voyage through this chapter, and you'll get more examples than you can shake a stick at. Okay. 4 reasons why I'm making this stream. Because of your questions about, what has happened to Joseph. People have asked me that, at least 2 or 3, 4 people. At least one person has reached out to Gail Riplinger asking me what happened to Joseph Armstrong. He used to be so good, all this stuff. I've had somebody even ask me if I even believe in God anymore. And it's just like, why? I don't get it. I don't know if I can angle this down a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. So, that's the first reason, to answer those questions. Second, to document my current positions regarding the KJV and Gail Riplinger's books. So, here you go. And my opinion matters to me because it's what I hold to. I'm not requiring that you hold to it to keep watching this channel. I'm not. I don't say, oh, well, you don't agree with me, then, you can just, hit the road, pal. That's not how I've been ever. You guys have watched this channel before, and you know. So I'm going to be documenting my current position. And it's probably going to change. It's probably going to go back and forth. And I'm going to try to, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm trying to distill out answers for my own satisfaction. That's what this whole entire channel is about. Our 4 goals from our About Us page. I believe it's on there. The third reason. To answer your questions about the future and the trajectory of the Bible Version Conspiracy YouTube channel. That's what this is right here. And the Friends of Gail Riplinger Facebook group. Oh, and also, if you guys No, I'll mention this in a second. The fourth reason. Today was the day that we do the monthly live stream anyways, so it worked out, just a coincidence. I actually thought that next Monday was going to be the last Monday of the month, and I was like, okay, so I'll do a stream tonight, kind of like a knee-jerk reaction thing, and then next week I'll do another stream, and we'll talk about all of the stuff then. But then I was like, looked at my calendar, and I'm like, So, in future videos, we will be discussing the controversy that I've had with Gail Riplinger and her daughter, Bryn. We will be fully discussing every aspect from our perspective, because I can only discuss things from my perspective, but I will also be reacting and responding to what Gail has put forth publicly from her own perspective regarding the controversy that we've had. Let's see. And I'm going to try to cut down on my vocal fry and add more energy and projection and stuff like this. So let's see how well that works out, because I'm tired. My goodness, I'm tired. Alrighty. We will be fully discussing every aspect from our perspective, and carefully going through the documents Gail has made in response to my criticisms of her book. Okay. We will also be exposing what I have found to be major problems in New Age Bible versions. We'll be discussing them, and I will be looking for feedback from AV Publications, because I'm sure they will. I have tried to address some of these issues with them privately. Their response was inadequate and very condescending. We'll get into that in future videos. So at this point, it's going public because Gail has made this issue public. She has published 2 documents responding to me on the freebies page on avpublications.com, and severely misrepresented me in one particular spot that just stands out so well in my mind because it makes for such an awesome story. So we'll talk about that. Oh boy. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching. All right. So, and I guarantee they're making a transcript of this video. And once it's all done, once we've made it, they'll probably be downloading it and offering it to all of the people so that they can all have the full documentation. Okay. Just stuff. I mean, it's public, so watch it. And if I sound disrespectful, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get through this, honestly. Just trying to get through this. Okay. And I can also kind of hear the kids in the background. This sounds like the nightly, bedtime battle is on. All right. So briefly, okay. So we're going to briefly touch on those issues tonight. I realize not everyone will want to hear what I have to say tonight. I realize that. I realize that there are people that are not ready to see the criticisms that I have of Gail Riplinger. I understand. I was you 4 or 5 years ago. I was. If I was watching me right now 4 or 5 years ago, I would have just rejected what I was saying out of hand. I would have just been like, wow, future me is dumb. Let me be clear. I'm not asking for you to believe me over Gail or to side with me against her. I am not. If 4 or 5 years ago you would have told me the very same things that I'm about to say tonight, I would have written you off as an enemy of Gail Riplinger in the King James Bible. That's what I would have done. But sometimes the truth hurts, and a real friend is the one who is willing to tell you that you are wrong, even when he knows that you don't want to hear it. Tonight is not commenting on the debate between James White and Gail Riplinger. we'll be going through that more thoroughly at another time. Right now, we have some important things to talk about. Here's some anticipated questions. Now, all of what I've said so far, all that being said, I would like to welcome any questions that you may have. Please post any of the questions that you have in the chat comment thing on the side of the video with 4 question marks before and 4 question marks after. It helps me be able to see it. If I overlook your question, it might be because your question mark button is broken or something. So that would be why I would overlook it. Please keep your questions polite and relevant, because if it's not polite, I might just skip over it because you probably aren't interested in what I have to say anyways. And relevant means, what do you think about the Septuagint? It's relevant to the channel. Sure, I get it. What do you think about the rapture? No, that's not relevant. It doesn't, we're not talking about that even close. So anyways. Please keep your questions polite and relevant. If you feel that I have not answered your question adequately, I apologize. Please email me via the contact form on our website, BibleVersionConspiracy.com. Anything that you put into those contact forms, the Let's Chat section. I believe you can also go to BibleVersionConspiracy.com/Let's Talk. I believe is the URL. You guys aren't getting an echo, are you? It doesn't look like anybody's complaining about an echo. Let's let the Bible Version Conspiracy page post, or upload post now. Load. There we go. That's the word. And let's go to share screen, and I've got to read this sometime. Yeah, just going to share screen. Bible Version Conspiracy. Share. Is it coming up? Yes, 'tis. All right. Well, at least you have one full color version of me tonight. It's not all globby and pixelated. Oh, there's 2. So if you guys are interested, this design, which is kind of not displaying the greatest because it's being cut off right here, read your Bible like the devil's after it. That is available in our merch store on anything you can imagine. So, and it's 100% customizable. You don't even have to get this design. If you have a better design you want, go in the store and add that instead. And you can put your name on wherever you want, and you can move logos around. You can even get it printed on your shoulders. You can get whatever printed on your shoulders. It's a really cool website. So anyways, perfect. Christmas time is coming up. So let me move this down here. There we go. A little better full size. So if you scroll down all the way to the bottom. Oh, and here's some of the nice comments that we've gotten. I actually added a new one. It's really nice to see you are leaving a lot of emotional talking points for more balanced research. So that was from a commenter named that. And this is Let's Talk. So you guys can put in your name, your email address, and a quick message or a detailed message. And that can reach me in my email. So that's one way you guys can get a hold of me, just in case you think I didn't adequately answer your question. Because I'm trying to answer a lot of questions myself. And I figure that if I don't adequately answer somebody else's question, then I'm not going to know how to treat that question for myself. I'm going to, be deceived. Something's going to be overlapped. I'm going to miss something. And if I'm not able to clearly state what I think, then what I think might be flawed. So trying to work out a lot of things here. Alrighty, let's see. Personal friends like some of the people I see that are watching. You can reach out to me through Facebook Messenger or other means if you choose to do so. So that's that. Here's some anticipated questions. I'm just going to check to see if anybody has done a 4 question marker yet. I don't see any right now. I'll try to go through these comments before the stream is over. Anticipated question number 1. Do you still believe there is a conspiracy behind the modern Bible translations? Yes. Okay. Here's the answer that I typed out earlier. The best evidence of this so far that I have seen anyways is the New Order of Barbarians tapes by Dr. Lawrence Dunnigan. You guys can actually pick up a book on Amazon. It looks like that. And that'll show you some very interesting stuff. I actually introduced Mark Ward to that concept. And honor of honors, I introduced Gail Riplinger to that concept as well. Unless she had forgotten it and she was like, oh, shoot. Oh, now I remember now that Joseph had mentioned it. So, but she hadn't heard of it when I talked to her on the phone. Anyways, this was a couple years ago. Yes, the best evidence for this so far, and you guys can see what I'm talking about with the New Order of Barbarians tapes. You can see it on our channel. It's our channel trailer at the current time, and it's also right on the front of our website. You bring that back up. It's right there. Notice something on biblical and modern translations. It might not be what you think. So that is our introduction to the New Order of Barbarians. So here we go. In my opinion, Gail's works fall short of an exposure of this conspiracy and could be a distraction from the real thing. What Gail talks about does connect, part of it does connect with the idea put forth in the New Order of Barbarians. But it has a connection there, and it's the only thing that Richard Day also talked about. So there's probably connections elsewhere, but the extent of the very, very poor documentation and research that she did in the rest of the book outshadows those connections immensely. And that's kind of sad. I've already talked about publicly Gail's not exposing anything new in her PDFs that she made. I have talked publicly about I should really be wearing a nose strip. It'd be a lot easier for me to breathe through my nose. It helps a lot for sleeping and all that for me. So I have said before that King James onlyism could be a part of a psyop to distract from the actual manipulation of the biblical text that is going on. And King James onlyism does a lot of really, hokey, goofy things that nobody cares about it anymore. Same thing with the flat Earth. If the moon landing was fake, which it could have been, I mean, there's very little physical evidence that I've seen for it. Joel Tillis does a terrible job, I think, evaluating the moon photos. Maybe because he's not a photographer, I don't know. But then when it came to the evidence of that one guy that said that he helped with it, the guy that did Eyes Wide Shut, that testimony, I was like, hang on a second. And then listening to the podcast episode with the Confessionals Moon Man, that was like, oh wow. So it seemed to me like since the flat Earth, the no moon landing thing is a key part of flat Earth argument, then the flat Earth could easily be a psyop to cover up the evidence for, the fake moon landing. Just to relax, it's just a conspiracy theory. So with that idea in mind, King James onlyism serves kind of as the flat Earth of the biblical text, where flat Earth is the King James onlyism of astronomy. So let's keep going. It could be a distraction from the real thing, and it could also going to be a psyop. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. If you disagree, tell me why. Tell me why. Do you still believe the KJV is infallible and inspired? I am currently struggling with this question. I believe that it's infallible and inspired for a very long time. I will say that for now, I can't commit to the claim that the KJV is an exact representation of the autograph. I can't commit to that claim. I know there's people here in the chat that do commit to that claim, or at least commit to the Textus Receptus being basically a photocopy of the original autographs. No differences whatsoever. And I will say that it is a very, very difficult idea to defend. Yeah, people that have claimed that James White, who actually knows something about textual criticism, has walked all over. People like Jonathan Sheffield, Jeff Riddle, Peter Van Cleek. What's that one guy? Thomas Ross. The best defense that was offered, Jim, that I'm aware of was what's that one guy's name? The Reformed Theology guy that does the he's got a big beard. I have the book up here somewhere. It was an email debate. That was one of the best debates, actually, in my opinion. But yeah, there's just an entire spectrum of just horrible debates that have been done between James White and textual absolutists, as Mark Ward would call them. Convince me that the debates went well, please, because I listened to all of them over the period of like a week or two during my commutes and everything. Every spare minute I had. We didn't do a good job, guys. I'll tell you that right now. And if I was to put them on a scale of 1 to 10, Doug Wilson would have been a number 10, and a number 1 would have been Thomas Ross, and a number 0 would have been Peter Van Cleek. I'm sorry, but that's my honest opinion. Reach out to me and ask me why. Oh, let's see. Okay. I do not see strong evidence, or no, sorry, hang on. I do see strong evidence of the supernatural influence on the King James Bible and its translation, especially in the King James Code. So the stuff by Brandon Peterson is just like, wow, this is incredible. But is it a quality that has always existed in the Bible? Because a lot of it has to do with like the number of times that the name Jesus is in the Bible and stuff like this. So is it something that's just always been there, or was a part of something bigger? And was there some kind of angelic influence? Because a Bible, sorry to burst your bubble, but if a Bible is not necessarily a re-inspiration, it could still have supernatural residue, I guess, supernatural qualities to it, if it was guided by angelic presence. So the King James Code doesn't have to be something that was inspired back into the King James. All right, so how do you feel about Gail's books? Well, I'll go through that in a second. Let me just skim down and see if anybody has put a quadruple question mark in here. Yes, Doug Wilson, thank you. Kept here. And yes, Stanley Kubrick. Thank you, Hannah. Usually it's Charles Evans that has to remind me of who that was. And yes, you're right, Stanley. So yeah, that was a fascinating interview. All right. See, we don't just talk about King James subjects here. We talk about and we try to relate the conspiracy stuff too. When are we going to translate the Bible into the language of Bigfoot? That's what I want to know. All right. How do you feel? Okay. How do you feel about Gail's books? keep in mind, please keep in mind when I answer this, that I have read all of these books. I have read all of them. I have, if I remember correctly, I have actually read New Age Bible versions 3 separate times in this edition. This is my very marked up copy of it, and it has lots and lots of tabs. And I have promoted them for about a decade. I promoted them for 1/3 as long as Gail Riplinger has. And my feelings are as follows. I don't actually, surprisingly, I don't actually have very strong feelings about hazardous materials. You might find that shocking, but I don't. All right, so what is your opinion of New Age Bible versions? The main thesis is correct in my opinion, as I said earlier. So like the main thesis that there's a conspiracy behind the modern Bible translations and all that. And all that. Man's a man for all that. And I think, okay. The main thesis is correct, as I said earlier. However, the arguments and documentation are disappointing and often severely misleading based on my own research. I'll give you an example just so you guys know I'm not just blowing smoke. I can no longer recommend New Age Bible versions for the casual, trusting reader. I recommend it highly if you want to look into what has been said on the subject. There's a guy from Britain that actually ordered himself a copy at great expense for shipping and all this. Because he's like, it's a document for our movement, so I should at least read it. He's like, I know that it has lots of problems, but I want to at least read it. One example of an error that I found myself. This isn't even something that's related to what Gail has, responded to yet at all. This is something completely different. If you go to New Age Bible versions and you go to the chapter, if you go to the chapter called The Final Bible, that chapter begins, if you have a new edition, it begins on 613. And if you go to, let's see. I believe it's before the facts chart where she talks about Hermas and Barnabas. Yes. At the bottom of page 615, right here. It's counterintuitive. It's so annoying. So down here, in the section called About Face to the Arcane Apocrypha. Oh, it's hilarious. She says, and this is an isolated statement. She brings in F.F. Bruce in his talk on the Moratorian canon. I'm probably mispronouncing that. And she has this standalone sentence about Bruce Metzger, which I'm sure that Barterman would have a good laugh about this. Bruce Metzger, American mastermind behind the UBS, that's United Bible Society, Greek New Testament. So he's the mastermind behind it. He does all the Greek stuff and stuff like this. Well, a lot of it. He's part of the team. Believes the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Reference 6. And that's the end of the paragraph. And she doesn't discuss it any further, except she mentions that, the Bible revisers, Bruce Metzger, Westcott, and Horde have a common cause with Madame Blavatsky. Oh, it's hilarious. So the part that I wanted to focus on there was believes the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Reference 6. So reference 6 is going to take you to Bruce Metzger's book. If you go right to the end, page 640 of the new edition with the Gray Dragon. This one, I believe, is a 20... because there's been stuff added to it. She adds to it every now and then these days. This is a updated printing 2019. So if you have one that's like from 2021 or 2020 or what have you, it may be a slightly different page number. If you have the searchable version, Control F, you'll find it. So number 6, if you go to manuscripts of the Greek Bible, that's where you'll find your support of this claim about Bruce Metzger, page 74. Now, I am not a textual scholar. I'm just a nerdy, whatever. I am more into the graphic design. I'm literally right now, I am employed as a hardware sales associate. Those are my credentials. Okay. I have an associate's degree in graphic arts technology, and I work at a hardware store. So I went and I looked at this page. You can go to Internet Archive, find the exact book, same publication date, and everything else like this she refers to with the manuscripts of the Greek Bible. Maybe I missed something. Maybe this isn't an error by Gail. This is where one of these 17 people, I'm sure, is Bryn Riplinger and probably also Gail. And they're going to go, oh, look at this horrible, job that Joseph Arm. Okay, then it's off of my criticisms list of you. I'm glad to know that this is correct. So go to page 74 of Manuscripts of the Greek Bible. This part about the Apocrypha takes place in I believe, the first paragraph on the page. Bruce Metzger is talking about the contents of Codex Vaticanus. And he says, Codex Vaticanus includes the Apocrypha except, what was it? 3rd and 4th Maccabees and the Prayer of Manasseh or something like that. Just some random things. It doesn't include. And that's what he says. And that's it. That has anything to do with this at all. So my opinion is that Gail saw that and she goes, oh, he believes that the Apocrypha should be a part of the Bible because he said that a Bible contained the Apocrypha except this or that. And he calls Vaticanus the Vaticanus a Bible or something like this. And I'm just like, so that means Bruce Metzger believed that, okay, hang on a second. Believes the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Now, the people here that actually do this kind of stuff, they're going to their shelf, they're ripping down this book by Bruce Metzger, they're looking for that page. Believes Bruce Metzger, American mastermind behind the UBS Greek New Testament, believes the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. Period. And that's the discussion that we have on this matter. Guess what? He also wrote a book about the Apocrypha. And he said that probably the reason why it was introduced into the canon by some people is because Christians didn't have the Apocrypha included as separate scrolls like the Jews did. They were able to say, okay, these scrolls are scripture. These scrolls over here are the Apocrypha, the Deuterocanon, whatever, all that stuff's extra, whatever. These are the inspired ones. These are the ones that are, history or what have you. So he said that one of the reasons why the Apocrypha started becoming a part of the canon or considered to be part of the canon by some Christians was because the Apocrypha had to be included in, if you had a codex and you wanted to include the Apocrypha, it had to be in there too. And so then people were slightly confused about what was inspired and what wasn't. So that's where he believed the confusion actually came in. Did he believe that it was part of the canon? It doesn't look like it. Bruce Metzger believes the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible, my foot. And she based this off of that quotation where he said that Vaticanus had the Apocrypha except like 3 or 4 books. You want to talk about a misrepresentation? That's a misrepresentation. If I said something like, oh, the King James Bible had the Apocrypha in it, and in addition to the Catholic Apocrypha, it also has, what was it, Second Esdras, I believe it has. It has another book that actually kind of exposes Roman Catholicism as not being true. If I said that, and then somebody said, Joseph Armstrong believes the Apocrypha is a part of the King James Bible. And that's think about it. And that is one of the minor misrepresentations. We're going to keep going. What is my opinion of an all of thy word? My opinion of an all of thy word, I think a lot of it's awesome. Okay? I do. I haven't seen a lot of major criticisms of it. A lot of the built-in dictionary stuff has, I think, been, shown to be kind of fallacious, especially with the work of different people that I appreciate very much. You know who you are. And there's some other stuff in there that's, pretty kind of disturbing. We'll talk about all that at some point, but I think very highly of it for the most part. There are some places that I have known all along. I have known of all along that don't include inconvenient information, like where she talks about what the translators believed about their Bible and stuff like this, and she gives the parts that make it look like they believed their translation was infallible and inspired. There's so much in that epistle, not epistle dedicatoria. There's so much in the translators to the readers that she didn't include that shows that they didn't believe anything like what Gail is putting forward in Of Thy Word. I've known that since I read it. Maybe I missed something. Please correct me. Okay, I love it. Please correct me so I can stop saying stupid stuff. Okay, that's one reason why I like you guys, because you correct me and I can stop saying stupid stuff. It's great. It's a symbiotic relationship, you and I. Let's see. You are the Venom to my Peter Parker right now. All right, so the translators to the readers is a good example. There are other places which are very thorny in my opinion, and other men are doing good work in those places. I also hesitate to recommend the book because of Gail's method in her previous book, New Age Bible Versions. So that kind of makes me hesitate on promoting it Of Thy Word now. Hazardous materials I actually feel the least strongly about, I think. I have not evaluated anything in hazardous materials personally, so I refrain from criticism. I look forward to looking into the claims others have made about it, like Kirk DeVitro. He has a big old book called Cleaning Up Hazardous Materials. I'm looking forward to reading that. I'll probably reach out to him as well if I have any questions. I think I've made contact with him a couple of times before. So, and of course, that's just, oh no, Joseph he can't do that. So it's going to be enough for Gail to take her PDF, just like last time. I merely mentioned the fact that I've talked with Phil Stringer in Messenger. I just mentioned that, and that's counted as a point against me in these PDFs she's made. It's pathetic. Let's see. Well, now she's really going to have fun because I talked with Mark Ward too. So, if you have any questions, please, like I said, 4 question marks, throw it in that chat, and we'll keep going. Right now, I'm going through some anticipated questions that I believe that you may have on your mind. Please, there's no dumb question. The only dumb question, there's 2 actually, there's 2 dumb questions. The first question is the question that you don't ask is a dumb question. And the second question is the question that you already know the answer to completely and familiar, and you know. You can ask the question, sure, just to be sure, but if you already know the answer and you're just, really just being a pain at this point, stop asking. But I don't think I've felt that from anybody that that I've talked to online here through the channel or whatever. Please, if you have a question, ask away. I love it. All right, so with hazardous materials, I look forward to looking into the claims that others have made about it, but so far I am doubtful there will be much substance to its criticisms. But there are some places that I already know are going to be very criticized, and I'm going to be joining right in. But yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. That's going to be in the future. And along those lines, I apologize. I'm sorry. I still have the marks that I made when I was reading hazardous materials and making some chapters. For now, those videos have been privated. Not because I'm trying to retaliate against Gail. Yeah, I really got one. That's not why. The reason why I took those down is because for now, I don't know if I can justify with my own conscience promoting them. So I have privated them. And that's that. And I produced those about 10 years ago. Are you anti-Riplinger? No, I'm not. You might be surprised by that. Most people that have criticized Gail Riplinger have been anti-Gail Riplinger. She's a heretic. She's a fool. She's all this, I am very disturbed by her documentation methods. I am also, I will say, I am upset by what she has said about me, especially. That has been most revealing. I mean, how can you take this stuff without having it affect you emotionally? I mean, my goodness. But am I like, oh, I'm going to get back at her? No, that's not the case. And in her PDF, she wants to paint me as a raving lunatic, somebody that just is filled up with hatred and stuff like this. Now, people have said that I'm extremely mad with Gail because an audiobook project that we were trying to work on didn't end up panning out. And she sent me an email to cease and desist all involvement in the audiobook project, which isn't actually going to happen, to my opinion, to my knowledge. And in my opinion, it'll probably never happen. But if I get another cease and desist email, if I said at any point in time, oh yeah, I'd be so mad and stuff like this, it would have been out of sarcasm. If she sent me a cease and desist, like on this stream, if I get a cease and desist email after this stream, how dare you question Gail? You're defaming her character and blah 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 blah. She threatened to sue Bethany House and she never did. They're still publishing away, to my knowledge. So yeah. Threats to cover up your faulty documentation, that's wrong. And Gail, I'm sorry, there has to be somebody in this space, somebody in your sphere of existence. There's not many people in your sphere of existence that aren't yes men. And I want to be like, we just listened to what was it? Blind Justice or something like this. I forget what it was. It was an Adventures in Odyssey episode. And Eugene is the only one on the jury that is pressing to hear all of the information and evaluate all of it because he's just Eugene. And it turned out in the end that what they thought had happened didn't actually happen. And there was somebody there on the jury that actually had a personal vendetta against the person being tried. Go back and listen to that episode. You'll learn a lot. I want to be Eugene. I admired him. I admire him for the stand that he took, that character. And I want to be like that. If there's something that I see as a problem, somebody has to say something. And I'm more than happy to be that someone. Okay. And when there is something that I perceive as being a lie in Gail Riplinger's book, maybe it's a problem, maybe it's an error, maybe it's an oversight. My goodness, she was diseased at that point. She really needed to go outside and touch grass like any old good conspiracy theorist needs to when they go too far down the rabbit hole. And she wasn't physically able to do it. I understand. There is much that could have happened. But the problem is that what I have seen goes far beyond the explanation of, oh, well, she was sick or something like this. Especially since she went on to promote it for the next 30 years. And people went on to believe her. That's the sad part. All right, so are you anti-Gail Riplinger? No, I am not. There is a difference in being an enemy and being a friend. that is not afraid to tell you the truth, even when it hurts. Right now, the truth has to be told about the gaping holes in Gail's... I lost my spot. The truth needs to be told about the gaping holes in Gail's documentation, and it looks like I'm the only friend willing to do that. It seems like, I mean, Gail has wielded a very influential campaign, especially when New Age Bible versions first came out. There were people filling, like gymnasiums, and they're all crowding together, trying to, listen to what this great woman who has uncovered a New Age conspiracy had to say. Oh my goodness. James White. Oh my goodness. James White was like the staple critic of Gail, and I think it's also kind of a shame because somebody like David Cloud, possibly, who was King James and was Textus Receptus, he saw through what Gail had to say, and she of course responded to him. I am well aware. I've done hours and hours and hours of videos on blind guides, which are also all now privated, because I need to go back and reevaluate. I am aware. So, what happened to lead to this disillusionment with Gail and her books? I will tell you a major factor that was not a factor: the audiobook project. Gail says in the PDFs that she's made about me. If I remember to, I'll link them up down below. If not, go to avpublications.com/freebies and look at it for yourself. Joseph Armstrong's Secret Stream Exposed, and Joseph Armstrong's requested reply. If you want to read those and see what kind of a horrible, evil person I am, and how I hate her so much, and how I've been angry at the King James Bible and Gail Riplinger and everything related to it ever since the audio project didn't immediately get endorsed, if you want to read about all that, please just go right ahead and read it. If you want to feel sorry for me, free country. So, anyways, here's what led to my disillusionment with some of Gail's documentation. And this is pretty much in order. And after this, we'll talk about the plans for the Friends of Gail Riplinger group especially, and we might touch on the future of the channel. Okay, so please note, Gail withdrawing her support from the NABV audiobook project was upsetting, to be honest. It was upsetting. But it played no part in my ultimate disillusionment with her research and her books and her stuff. You guys are saints. All of you have been here the entire time, and it's been an hour. What time is it anyways? It is 9:07. Not bad. EDT. Not bad. And most of you aren't even in my time zone, so it just works out so well. And I'm having a hard time keeping eye contact with you because you're almost invisible on my laptop screen. So anyways. And I'm sorry the color sucks. It sucks. Oh, and also the angle is not flattering. I wish I could just raise it. Is there anything I can I stack to not have to be? Hang on. Here's something they're good. Something they're good for, right? There we go. Oh, New Age Bible versions just scared my elbow. Alrighty then. I'm still going to be looking way down, though. Let me raise this up a little bit. Okay. All right. So one of the first things that actually I started finding out was amiss. I made a video about the citation that she made of Westcott and him saying that the Bible is not infallible. And I went and I read that in Westcott's own words, and Bryn did respond, saying that, oh, well, the long dash, that wasn't part of it, and it represents what he believes anyways, and stuff like this. And well, it was probably corrected by one of the people that, read New Age Bible versions and saw a grammatical inaccuracy or whatever, and made it say something else. And that was the response. So hopefully they change it now in upcoming editions of New Age Bible versions, and they have an apology printed in there that they made an error, because people are still quoting Westcott as saying, I reject the infallibility of the Bible. Not what he said. And Timothy Berg, I think, does a very good job also talking about that. And I emailed Bryn and Gail about it before, and they had a very long time to respond to me, and they did. And I don't think they did a good job. IMHO. So, Westcott is supposed to have said, I reject the infallibility of Holy Scripture overwhelmingly. Not what he said. Look it up in Joey Faust's book, and it says, I reject the term infallibility, long dash, of Holy Scripture overwhelming. Wait, what? And I know Joey Faust. He copied and pasted a lot of things that he had in that book from like Google Books and stuff like this. So his copying and pasting was a lot more accurate than what was done in 1993 for Gail's book. So I went and I looked at it for myself. And what Westcott said was, basically speaking, and we have a page that talks about this, about Westcott and work. He says something like the evidence shows that shows the absolute truth of Holy Scripture. I reject the term infallibility overwhelming. So what he's saying, this is just off the top of my head, I'm so sorry. But what he's saying is, without that parenthetical statement with the long dashes, he says, I accept the absolute truth, and the evidence is in favor, the evidence that is in favor of the absolute truth of Holy Scripture is overwhelming. But he said that he rejected the term long dashes, I reject infallibility. And the reason why, he wrote about this in other parts of his works, that, and I'm not sure exactly where, I need to bring all this in. Timothy Berg, if you're watching this, help me out. But one of the reasons why he rejected infallibility is because he felt infallibility could very easily lead to what he considered to be a false doctrine. And you also consider to be a false doctrine, that the apostles and prophets were taken over by automatic writing, and they went into a trance and they just started scribbling on a page. And then when it all came out, it was like, oh my goodness, I've got a Bible now. What does it say? Let's read it. That's what he thought it would lend to. The idea that overemphasized the divine aspect of Holy Scripture and downplayed the human aspect. So that's why he rejected, I believe it was, I think it was a modern term of infallibility. So he rejected that. That was one of the first things that alerted me. Second thing, a glaringly inadequate response to a question about one of Gail's foundational arguments. After I contacted Gail about something somebody mentioned to me, it's a New Age heresy to translate Lucifer as day star in Isaiah 14:12. For those of you that are watching and don't quite get it, I'm not okay with changing it to day star. I'm not. But I do say that we need to be a little bit more familiar with that term Lucifer and what it means in our own language. It refers to the planet Venus. It always has. Gail tries to pretend that the only person that ever made that connection were the ancient pagan Romans, and how could we even consider what pagans said and stuff like this? Well, the thing is that that's just how it has been. It's just language. It's just true. In English, we call it the day star, or we call it the morning star. The Greeks called it Venus. I believe it was the Greeks called it Venus, or I'm not sure what they actually called it. The Romans called it, if you were speaking, Latin, it would have been Lucifer or Luciferus or whatever. Not an expert, but this is what I'm gathering. If I'm wrong, correct me. And basically, when it's talking in that chapter, the primary application is to the king of Babylon. Most people think it was Nebuchadnezzar. So if you want to say that, that Lucifer has to mean Satan because, there's no day and there's no star in the Hebrew, Gail knows better about translation than to think that you have to literally there has to be the word day and there has to be the word star in the Hebrew text for it to be translated day star. It's not true. The King James translators themselves put in the margin that Lucifer could also be translated day star. And please forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong. This is a hapax legomenon, where Lucifer is translated once in the Bible because it's only there once. And the translators to the readers, they say that when they have a word that only appears once in the Hebrew or Greek, they put a note in the margin to tell you that they might not have been quite sure about how it should have been translated, and they put an alternative reading in the margin. I asked Gail about that marginal note in the original 1611 Bible that said "or day star." I think it's hyphenated. And I was like, what's with this note? And she said, oh, well, I don't have time to talk about what the translators to the reader says and things like this. But basically, they were just giving a cultural context of what, like the pagan Romans thought about the word, Lucifer or Hallel in Hebrew. And I was just like, huh. So going back to the translators of the readers, I was like, wait a second. This was a hapax legomenon. A word without friend or neighbor or cousin or nephew or, So they said that they would put a marginal note in there and not to dogmatize on this translation or that, because sometimes they weren't 100% dialed in on it's this word, and they were like, okay, let's put the sense in the margin so that we can have an educated Bible reading public. And we can be honest about what we feel the Bible, how the Bible translates into English. So the misrepresentation of the KJV marginal note, and please check out the marginal note of the other three Bibles that translated Lucifer, the Wycliffe, the Matthews, and the Geneva. Check those notes sometimes. The Wycliffe, check the text itself, because the text is glaringly obvious that Lucifer, it's referring to Venus, the planet Venus. We call it the day star or the morning star. Wycliffe is glaringly obvious. Gail doesn't talk about that in the Know of Thy Word. She also doesn't talk about how the Old Latin translates Lucifer or the morning star or the day star in the New Testament. She doesn't talk about that. She just blasts the Vulgate for saying Lucifer rising and stuff like this. Help. Anyways, we'll talk about all this stuff more in the future. The next thing that threw me into this disillusionment was researching every claim of one chapter in New Age Bible versions, offering two major criticisms via email to AV Publications and receiving an inadequate and very, very delayed. I followed up probably not 4 or 5 times, probably less than that, but followed up multiple times and just. But Gail was in the hospital. I understand. But then they also didn't want to embarrass me. I also understand that. I don't like being embarrassed. Of course, you might think that I like being embarrassed considering what goes on this channel. Okay. So offering two major criticisms via email to AVP, receiving an inadequate, this was Bryn's response, it was inadequate, it dodged the questions, and the correspondence, or not the correspondence, the PDF that I received from Bryn was very condescending. We are descending out of the clouds of the holy work of God to just answer one of your foolish questions that really matters not. And, you're a traitor, by the way, and all this stuff. You go right ahead and read it. It is, wow. And Bryn and Gail, I'm sorry. I'm interested in being friends, but I know it's probably not going to happen, and that's sad for me. But honestly, I can't keep promoting the stuff. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, and I can't keep falling for the same stuff. I've looked into what you've said. I've heard your response. I want to hear more response. I want to not be saying dumb stuff. I want to be corrected. Correct me. But if you're going to tell me a story I'm going to believe, please. Because so far it hasn't happened very well. Oh, finding a PDF which Gail made about... Okay, well, anyways. That's a different part. So yeah, the reply to Bryn's email, Joseph Armstrong's requested reply. I believe it used to be just Joseph's requested reply, but anyways. That's a whole... Oh boy, if you guys want... If you guys are in for Bible version conspiracy story time, that's basically what's coming up, because this story is just so... It's fascinating. One of the other things that led to this disillusionment was finding a PDF which Gail had made public without so much as alerting me, and being ripped to shreds in this PDF and grossly misrepresented in it. Let me tell you the thing that really stood out to me. So you read this PDF, the first part of it. I don't think I can call it right up this second. I might see if I can get it to load real quick, and I can show you. Not going to make any promises. So when you read the Joseph Armstrong's Secret Stream Exposed, when you read that part, she says that Joseph is out of the closet, and the Bible has been proven right, that the things that you say in those closets are going to be spoken from the housetops, and oh, you're going to be exposed and stuff like this, and look, it happened to Joseph. Let's see, this is in Gail Riplinger folder. And then the Gail Riplinger controversy folder. Oh. Replies to Joseph. Joseph Armstrong Secret Stream Exposed. Got it. So let me bring that up. Present. Stop share. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Replies to Joseph. Share. All right. This is it. This is it. Let me make myself wheelie tiny. Here we go. And I'm gonna respond to this whole PDF at some point. It's like, I forget. 20 pages. All right. So at the beginning of the PDF, this is the only part that we're going to deal with for right now. Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light, and that which ye have spoken in the ear in closets shall be proclaimed upon the housetops. Near the end, at 2:54:54, someone said, "This is all recorded," and a reply was heard. Uh-oh! Once again, the Holy Bible has proven itself true. Joseph is out of the closet. And then Providence gave me access to Joseph Armstrong's secret sessions. I'm sorry, Gail, you were a member for a year, and you never interacted. And you never interacted on those streams that you joined us for. It's really sad. You could have interacted, I'm sure. Maybe your tech didn't let you do that, but let's go down to, I believe it's the second to the last page. Wait for that to load. Phil Stringer, he hasn't gotten back to me. Oh, look, he said Phil Stringer. He's a bad boy. Okay. I can't believe it. In red. Here, let me see if they'll let me zoom in. Will it let me zoom in with a pinch? Oh, look at that. Alrighty. I can't believe it. In red and underlined and exclamation marked. I can't believe it. This whole thing has been recorded. Uh-oh. Bye-bye. End of transcript excerpts. Let me tell you what actually happened. And Gail, I think she might be bluffing, but I'm not sure. She's got the transcript anyways, or at least parts of it. Very, very interestingly represented, but anyhow. So let me tell you the little story about what she's actually talking about there. And please, and I plan to put these secret streams up on a page that I'm making called the Gail Riplinger Controversy. And people will be able to watch them for themselves on the website. I'm probably not going to make them on the YouTube channel because they just don't fit the timeline and everything. But we'll have videos that refer back to it and all this, and people can go watch them. Bryn and Gail actually also offer a transcript, and they offer a the downloaded. They downloaded it. Oh, yes, they downloaded it, and you can actually request this from them. Let me tell you what happened. I went back and I reviewed that segment of what I said. This is what I gathered was the criticism. So we're talking along, me and our other co-conspirators, who may or may not be watching tonight. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them yet, so I'll say that. And what happened is one of the co-conspirators shared to me that there's a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden may just be an actor. You know, not that Joe Biden is, he's starting a movie or something. But there was a conspiracy theory that Joseph Biden was, when he was in his presidency and all this, he still kind of is, that he was so mentally inept that what they were doing is they were having somebody dress up like him, put on like a flesh mask or something like this, and, he'd be taller than normal, and his earlobe would be longer than it had ever been, and stuff like this, and all these different things are supposed to add up to the idea that someone is playing Joe Biden to try to give some kind of respect to the administration. So, Charles Evans told me about that. And while he's talking about that, I'm looking up at the little red bar thingy here on StreamYard. Those of you that use StreamYard know what I'm talking about. And it's like, okay, wow, look at that. It was three something hours. It was almost 3 hours. And I was like, wow, I can't believe all this was recorded. And I think about posterity a lot. When I see those high numbers, I'm just like, my posterity, like I would love to have this kind of video feed stuff from like my dad or something like this. I would be able to get to know him much more intimately than I, like when he passes away, and being able to watch those videos of him talking, it would just be it would be phenomenal. And I'm sure that you would agree, those of you whose fathers have passed away, if you had hours and hours and hours of your father talking about what's going on in his life, that would be priceless. What price tag would we even put on that? And I looked up at that little thing, and I was like, wow, can't believe it. All of this has been recorded, because it was just like, it's just like a big number, like it has in the PDF. It was like 2+ hours, and it's not one of my biggest streams. Ask Nick Sayers. Well, I'd probably talk way too much. I could have kept going if my mind wasn't glitching. So, anyways, that was a 4-hour stream. Who's gonna ever watch that? But I plan to break it up in the future. So, when I mentioned that, oh man, I can't believe all this was recorded. Charles was like, he thought, he was thinking, oh no, the feds are going to come down on me for, this conspiracy theory stuff or whatever. And he's like, uh-oh. And at least that's what I gathered. Charles, if I'm wrong about the impression that you had there, that was the uh-oh. Just, tell me what you really thought there. So, we talked a little bit longer, and then toward the end of the stream, I'm like, thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you for your support. You guys are phenomenal. This happens because of you. The co-conspirators, really, they do. They contribute a little bit of money to make this possible. a little bit of money a piece to make this possible, because this isn't possible with a small amount of money. It's not. And it keeping up the website and I probably have close to a dozen subscriptions now just to make the digital stuff even happen. This microphone, there's so many things just to make this work. And I thank them for it. And they're like, you're welcome, dude. And at regular signing off, have a great night, guys. We'll see you next Friday. They're like, yeah, see you next Friday. And I was like, yep, bye-bye. Have a good night. Gail took that interaction and turned it into a panicked teenager. I can't believe it. I hit the record button earlier. People are going to be able to hear what I said. That's what she made it look like. She didn't care about accuracy and truth when she did that, did she? Or did she just want to have a nice story? After looking through the chapter and all the different things that I've criticized in Gail's book, I have awoken to the fact that I've been gaslighted, because when I was going through this chapter and just seeing the worst documentation of any book in history, and I'm not talking about, and she talks about this stuff in the abstract. So how can I hide what I've been criticizing? Oh, well, it's buried in an hour and a half of stream. The people who don't get this far aren't going to know. The chapter that I've gone through every last little bit of, I probably shouldn't say it. So researching, blah, 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 blah. Finding okay. So finding a PDF which Gail had made public without so much as alerting me. She did send out a freebies email, which I did not receive. I did receive it, but I wasn't notified by my phone. It kind of sucked. And it just kind of came through as, brand new freebies. And, the critics are down on the bottom of the page where they belong and stuff like this. I didn't see that until days after I found the PDF. I found it serendipitously. I was going and looking for some documents that she had made. They're numbered. They're on the freebies page as well, especially one that talked about capitalization of pronouns. I wanted to get that one. And I downloaded the rest of them too. I'm just kind of scrolling down. It was like 2 a.m. on, I believe, the 5th of September. And I get to the bottom and I'm just like, is that my name? Is that PDF Bryn sent me? Is that another PDF? And I was like, dang, what's going on here? So clicked into it. And it's all of this stuff. And I'm just like, holy cow. I had no idea. How long has this been up? And I found out later on, once I found that email, because I was like, did she send out an email about this or something? Because I didn't hear anything. So I went and I looked for this email because somebody had actually mentioned that there was an email that went out of freebies. One of my co-conspirators got it. And it was like, oh, wait. What was the publication date on that? It was like the day that I found it, or the day before I found it. And I was just like, Providence had a hand in that. Well, now, what are we gonna do? So anyways, and my plan was to get all my criticisms together, find out that I was wrong, and delete the page. Or if I didn't find that it was all wrong, to send the page to Gail and give her forever to look at all of it, give me her feedback and her criticism and stuff like this. Gail, however, decided to, for the first time in an entire year, quietly join a stream, record it or download it, create a transcript, make a PDF, publish it without saying anything to me. And then when I say, hey, Gail, I'm sorry, but the way that you're using your co-conspiratorship right now, it's not okay. For now, I think it's in both of our best interests that you not have co-conspirator benefits. So she had to be the first person that I had to actually dismiss from the co-conspiratorship. She was an honorary co-conspirator. She did not contribute financially via that program, She has contributed financially to us before, and for that we're grateful. She mentions it in the one PDF, or Bryn does. So, anyways, that whole thing happened. It's a fantastic story. If you want me to fill in any details, go to that little chat kind of section thing, and 4 question marks, ask the question, 4 question marks, helps me see it. I hope that maybe you guys aren't just completely stunned by all of this. We've been going for about an hour and a half. My apologies if that is the case. Let's see. The final thing that led to my disillusionment, she had included some, not on purpose, it's just part of the transcript, you know, it just happens. She had accidentally included some identifying what my co-conspirators felt was identifying information to like where they lived and their names and all this stuff, and they weren't necessarily comfortable with that. Not because they're like some secret backbiting group that's hidden in the deep shadows of Joseph's cult that he's forming. Not because of that. It's just because it's like, do I need to have the state that I live in and my name being public? I'm not okay with that. So I wouldn't be okay with it either. Unless it was like, you know, for like, congratulations, thank you for your support, stuff like that from the person I'm supporting is great. But the other way, So they requested, you know, hey, could we get our names taken out of this transcript thing? Because we don't really like this stuff. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll reach out to Gail. It did. She responded back, hey, yeah, that stuff was taken out. And by the way, if you want to say anything else to me, save it for the judgment seat of Christ. Nice. So I emailed her back and I was like, okay, sorry that you feel that way. And she may not have gotten this email. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she just, nope, ignore. Maybe she did. But as far as I'm aware, AV Publication refuses to publish my email connected with the response that I received. So you're going to read Bryn's PDF all about Joseph Armstrong's requested reply, and you're not even going to know what I asked. And if you just read the response instead of reading what I asked, you're not going to have the context. You're not even going to know what the question was, and you're going to think that she was, you know, like I was just like totally misrepresenting and assuming that she didn't even have a book that she had in front of her, and this is like she said I was leaving out part of what New Age Bible versions had, possibly on purpose, but if I had kept reading, I would have seen this and that. And I was just like, I wasn't even asking about that. And it's like, for me to have even done that would have been dumb, because you have the book right in front of you. You publish it, for crying out loud. We both have it in front of ourselves. Why would I even do that? Reactionary, just self-defensive, because I mean, and I understand Gail's entire ministry, she has been swarmed with critics, hornets buzzing around all the time. And if one of her friends starts to buzz next to her, she's likely to just slap them. I get it. But the problem is the story's not over. It's not over. Okay, so what are your plans for the Friends of Gail Riplinger group? I do not currently have any definite plans to change anything, but here's what I have so far. I'll be making videos about the problems that I found in New Age Bible versions, but I am not decided if I will be sharing them in the Friends group. I'm not decided on that yet. I don't know. I do not plan to reinstate Bryn Riplinger Shutt as an admin. I do not. Due to her reactionary, defensive, and condescending nature, which I have experienced. Let's be honest. You can't question Gail without going on the naughty list and having a PDF written about you. I can see Bryn quickly becoming the playground bully, and no one would dare to share an opinion that differed from Gail's in the Friends of Gail Riplinger group. Case in point, G. John Rov, Gary Roverino. He's recently published a book on the miracle of the 1611 and stuff like this. And as I'm informed, I'm looking to publish. I'm looking to purchase the book soon. But yeah, I'm familiar with Gary's statements on this, and they're accurate. Yeah, he basically claims to be a prophet who is here to defend the King James Bible from all oppositions because there's these miracle coincidences, like King James being married to Anne of Denmark, so Anno Domini. You can't make this stuff up, man. It reminds me of the way that Tyler Doka proved that he was Jesus by measuring his head and all the other stuff that he did. So I'm not okay with Gary Roverino's research. I'm not okay with it. It smacks very strongly of some Gnostic videos that I have seen, explaining, like, the atom, man, and it's the same thing as the solar system. We've got all these solar systems built into us, man. And on all of these other weird kind of distorted, blah. But all that goes together. And actually, James White called King James Onlyism a form of modern Gnosticism, because you don't have a Bible until 1611, and now we're the ones that know. That's kind of loosely related to Gnosticism, I suppose, but I was like, oh wow, he actually said that. So, anyways, he made that connection, and Gail already offers his other book, Concealed from Christians for the Glory of God. That's G. John Rov right there. I guess Apostle G. John Rov. She already sells the other book, and since this whole controversy has broken out, it's actually gone on sale, so I guess it can reach a wider audience or something, which Gail's sales aren't sales, by the way. If a sale doesn't have a time limit on it, it's not an actual sale. It's a discount that they're applying to it to help move different product. I'm aware of this. I'm a sales associate. That kind of stuff happens. It doesn't happen at the hardware store I work at because we actually run legitimate sales that have a termination point. But if you have a sale that just seems to be there all the time and wow, it's discounted or something like this, it's as hokey as Amazon taking a $400 external hard drive and on Black Friday marking it up to $800 and then discounting it down to $400. That's totally dishonest, not what Gail's doing, but the sale is just to move things. In my opinion. Hey, if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm not the one that works there at AVP. She's not my aunt or anything like this. I'm not, I'm in New York. They're down in like Virginia or whatever. Never actually been there, by the way, to her house. I've been in West Virginia. We drove through there a few years ago. Anyway. All right, so all right, so that objection that I raised, and I posted it in the Friends of Gail Riplinger group. And I was like, this is just totally disturbing what he says in this book, and it is. It really is. If Bryn Riplinger Shutt was in control of that page, guess where that post would have gone? It would have been marked and it would have been in the trash. We're sorry, but Gary Roverino is a friend of our ministry and of the Word of God, and we don't take kindly to unwarranted criticisms of our dear friend and defender of the King James Bible. And if Bryn was in control, objections, the freedom to criticize, the freedom to say, Gail, I am your friend. I do not agree with what you're doing or what you're saying right now on this point. And something has to change because you're doing something that's not honest and is scaring me. There would be no freedom to say that under a Riplinger regime. If you disagree, tell me. I also have no intentions of being kicked out of the group that I started. I started the Friends of Gail Riplinger group. And if I instated her as an admin, I had to actually take away her admin status, not because, aha, I'm taking over this group. Haha, I'm only going to publish things that are anti-Gail from now on. Wasn't my intention. The intention was staying in the group, because when you enter into a confrontation, that like I have entered into small confrontations with Gail and Bryn in the past, I was like, okay, they're gonna shove me out of the group, and this is gonna be their territory now, and they're just gonna defend themselves from any criticism ever. And that's gonna be a sad place for people to be. Only allowed to be, yes, you are right, Gail. Yes, you are right, Gail. Yes. She has never admitted to being wrong. And you really think that that's a hyperbole? I also have no intentions of being kicked out of the group that I started, because I'm asking questions that they are struggling to respond to. I apologize to Bryn for speaking my mind. And Stephen, I apologize for speaking my mind. And I know Stephen Shutt, he has his own opinions and everything like this, and he really doesn't get involved in this kind of stuff anyways. But and Bryn was not even an active admin. The only thing that she really did is let's see, she would shove people out of the group. Not like rudely or anything that I'm aware of, but she would make people leave. And she deleted one of my posts one time, sharing what Kent Hovind's wives said about the situation and why they left him. That was revealing and disturbing. I don't know. I haven't talked to him yet about it, but it was very sad. I really should call him sometime, probably. But also, it's just kind of like, what kind of answer do you get from a narcissist? You always get a, oh, woe is me kind of response, and I don't want that to keep me from being fair. But we'll have to see what happens with that. All right, so sorry, I just kind of rambled there for a second. All right, so having Mark Ward, no. That's not. Hang on a second. Okay, that's right. And those were like the only things that Bryn ever did anyways. They never let in new members to my knowledge. Maybe they did. I don't remember them ever doing that. Probably missed it, I hope. But they weren't really active admins, and they weren't really something that I saw, where they really took care of a problem. They would usually just kind of, swoop in and, how dare you, and remove people and things. From what I saw, I didn't see everything. So I'm not on Facebook all day long. But anyhow, moving on to the next anticipated questions. I suppose I shall check again for a 4 question mark question. I don't see any. Spray Arm's here. Hey, Spray Arm, how's it going? Oh, my wife's here too. So let's see. Have Mark Ward and James White had a part to play in your disillusionment with Gail? Actually, no. My disillusionment with Gail allowed them to come into the place where I want to listen to things. So let me explain that. I went and I saw all these things with Gail, and I was just like, wow, I believed her. I feel very, very lied to. And right now, I want to hear what her critics actually have to say about things, because if she lied to me about all of this, what did she lie to me about beside that? I mean, my goodness, it's a 670-page book. It is massive. People just trust this book because it's very well documented, and they don't know where to start to criticize it. I was told where to start because somebody had a question to ask me, and I was like, okay, well, time for me to find out the answer. And I started evaluating the entire chapter, and I was just like, so I was not open to listening to Mark Ward or James White until after the feeling that I was being lied to set in. The False Friends series and James White's debates with the Texas Receptus and KJV Only Advocates have been impactful on me, but I was not ready to give them a fair hearing until doing my own research into Gail's claims. So I guess if you want to put it in a really short kind of way, if I go out and become, a radical or modern Bible version using person, I'll tell you the person that you can blame, Gail Riplinger. Do I plan to change the name of the group from Friends of Gail Riplinger to Recovering Riplingerites? No, I don't. That's actually a group that I'm going to start. It's just in my mind right now, just kind of working on it. Because I would describe myself as a recovering Riplingerite. I might even make a t-shirt that says Recovering Riplingerite right across the front of it. But I also, before that, I have to make a big purple shirt that says, like, Purple Shirt Sorority, or I love Gail Riplinger, or I don't know, something. I don't know. So we will. So I say that because Gail says that her prophecy about me, not saying that she's claiming to be a prophetess. Oh, by the way, it's not working. What would you think if I curled my mustache? That'd be cool. I think it'd be cool. Anyways, she says that my next step that she's projecting I'll take in the Secret Stream Exposed PDF. She says that I'm going to be joining Brian Ross, and I believe he's talking about Dwayne. She's talking about Dwayne Green. I believe I may be a different person, but I'll be joining them in the Purple Shirt sorority, which is there's a sorority that has a purple shirt and everything. It's like Lambda, Beta. I don't know what it was, but yeah, that's where that comes from. Some context for you. Let's see. Will I be responding to the PDFs that she has made about me? Yes, soon. Subscribe. Are you going to start censoring posts defending Gail or the King James Version in the Friends of Gail Riplinger group? No, I'm not. I never have. You guys post what you want to post, and when a post gets kicked over to the, wait a second, you should review this post, it probably shouldn't be in this group. I try to check that once in a while and be like, there's nothing wrong with that post, nothing wrong with that post. This person just leaves a lot of posts. There's just nothing wrong, nothing wrong, nothing wrong. I try to throw them all back out there. Right now, the only person that I have I have to look at their post before it actually makes it on is Bryn. And maybe Steven, I don't remember. I don't know. But the reason for that, obviously, is just because, I mean, if she can post whatever she wants to in there, but if she's going to, do what I think she's going to do and what I think she's going to say, and if, we can't discuss things like adults once Bryn enters the comment section, I'm sorry. Maybe it's just better that you take a chill pill and come back when you have something constructive to say. Anyways. So am I going to start censoring KJV only posts? No, that's what the whole group is about. It's a place for friends of Gail Riplinger. If every friend of Gail Riplinger doesn't see Gail's research as I see it, fine. It doesn't matter. I am allowed to have my own opinion. You are allowed to have your own opinion. I actually have a step-by-step process that you can follow. I'm going to get to that in a second. And you'll be able to have the same, you know. Anyways, we'll get into that in a sec. Like I said, no, I have no intentions to censor Gail's, Bryn's, or your defenses of the KJV or your defenses of Gail's work. I will make comments and I will say what I think about it. And I'm sorry, I will say what I think about it. If I am afraid to say what I think about it, that is not a that's not a good environment. That is not a what is the word I'm looking for? I'm not thinking of the words right now. But it's not good for the group's culture to everybody to be afraid of what somebody he just questioned Gail Riplinger. That's not a healthy society at that point. It's not. Because is she infallible? No. Are there corrections that need to be made? Yes. Are there some places where you could read it and you could just be like, wow, she lied to me? Absolutely. Did she necessarily lie? I am welcoming the correction, please, Gail. And I've read your 2 PDFs that you've put out against me, and they fall so short. Like I said, subscribe. We're going to get into that in the future. Oh, and by the way, the whole thing about, oh, you're mimicking Mark Ward's video style and stuff like this, I think just because I shot outdoors, I don't know. The reason I shot outdoors is because I had to do it during the day, and if I shoot inside, you're going to hear the 300 outside my office door, okay? That's enough said about that. Poor little kids, all under 6, I tell you. So anyways. Or it was it the 300 or the 3,000? I forget. I never saw the movie, okay? I never saw the movie. I just seen memes of it once in a while. And I remember when it first came out. Oh, am I looking for... No. Not quite there yet. Your defenses of the King James Bible and Gail's work, I value them very highly because I could very well be wrong in my criticisms of New Age Bible versions. However, oops, held that button down too long. Okay. However, I may not take very kindly to personal attacks. So, like, if you're like, I don't agree with Joseph Armstrong's criticisms of because and I go and I read it, and I'm just like, okay. Well, in this one, you're not. No, this one, I guess. I see your point there. Okay, I get that. And we work all the way through it. And we all just arrived at a conclusion together as a family, right? We get around the, the bonfire where we're, burning in IVs or whatever and saying kumbaya. So, of course, I'm not at that point. Let's see. But if you're like, Joseph Armstrong's a scumbag, he's a traitor to King James onlyism and Gail Riplinger, and he's an evil, wicked person, and here's his glaring error, which he refuses to acknowledge, and all this other stuff that's just going to be like, okay, dude. And let's put this post over here because it's just rude and mean and nasty, and that's not cool, dude. And I will message you and I'll say, hey, dude, what's going on? And maybe I'll send a little voice message that's just like, okay, I saw your criticisms of what what Gail said and everything like this. Would you like to talk about it? And then get into it from there. All right, so And we talked a little bit about the King James only stuff a little bit earlier. Kenny, I'm glad to see that you are new to the channel. That's awesome. So I have identified as being King James only for about 15 years, and right now is the first time in my adult life where that belief has been it's suspended for right now, because I have seen about a dozen King James only people try to defend what they believe on every level of the spectrum of scholarship, everybody from Stephen Anderson to Peter Van Cleek. And so far, it's been a train wreck. And by the way, that interview with Stephen Anderson and that debate with Van Cleek are just about on the same level in my mind, except Peter Van Cleek's was way worse. In my humble opinion, Peter, you maybe even be watching this. I don't know. That's just my honest opinion. Anyhow. And I know that you've written way more many books and you have so much more training than I do, but from a not overly trained and overly thought out perspective, when I watched that debate, I was just like, I was not just lost. I also could see that these logical rules that you tried to bring up all the time, they just don't necessarily apply to history, because history is a nuanced subject. And yeah, maybe God had an ample reason to preserve his word. But when we look at what is actually happening, maybe what we're saying is not the same thing. We need to rethink a lot of things, in my humble opinion. Anyways, we'll probably talk about it at some point. Oh, okay. However, I may not take kindly to personal attacks, so let's discuss things like adults, please. Am I looking to make friends? I like friends. I value my friends very highly. Just so you know. Yeah, I like having friends, but I find that I get more real friends and a greater number of reasonable friends when I'm honest, and I avoid pandering to my friends' prejudices. There's actually somebody that we posted this comment on our the testimonies part of our webpage, and he said that he deeply appreciates our channel because we're not afraid to sacrifice sacred cows, and we don't pander to his prejudices. So he appreciates our channel. And that's one of the things that we are all about around here. And we're also into exposing the Bible version conspiracy, because there is one. So read your Bible like the devil's after it. By golly. What do I have to say to people who do not believe what I'm saying? Like, I can't believe this. Gail doesn't have these major problems. Like, you're just, like, basically speaking to the person that I was 4 or 5 years ago, before I started looking into things for myself, because I had to. Here's what I'll have to say to the people who are like me 4 or 5 years ago. First thing I recommend you do: defend Gail Riplinger against all who criticize her, including me. Please. That's your first step. Defend Gail Riplinger against anyone who criticizes her, even me. Second, start a YouTube channel to expose the conspiracy against the King James Bible and to defend Gail Riplinger. Third, ask Gail for answers to give, so that you can give these answers to people who are criticizing you if there's no other answer readily available. So basically reach out to Gail Riplinger. If there's something that comes up and you're just like, I don't know how to answer this, email her or call her on the phone. She apparently likes email much better because talking on the phone is hard with her her disabilities. That's one reason why I haven't called her in so long. Reach out to her, get the response you need. That's the third point that I want you to do. The fourth thing that you need to do is you need to make videos defending Gail and her credentials as a scholar of the history of the biblical text. Make the videos defending Gail as a scholar of the biblical text. Fifth, start a Facebook group. And in this Facebook group, invite like-minded individuals who believe Gail's books and want to show her their support. Now, okay, after about 10 years of this last step that I mentioned, I want you to do this. The first thing, after 10 years of starting this Facebook group, start another YouTube channel to fairly and methodically expose the conspiracy against the King James Bible, just like Gail Riplinger did with New Age Bible versions, except she didn't start a YouTube channel. Just make a YouTube channel that's like New Age Bible versions and is designed to expose the King James, to expose the conspiracy against the King James Bible in modern versions, and make sure that you do it with exhaustive documentation that objectively and methodically documents the hidden alliance between new versions and the New Age movement's one world religion. Okay? Start the YouTube channel. Second, after 10 years of starting that Facebook group, start a small group in which only members can partake that will help you to fuel your YouTube channel. Third, make Gail Riplinger an honorary member of your secret group, but please don't be hurt if she chooses to never partake in it and to never support you publicly. Fourth thing, 10 years AF after Facebook. Have one member who is also a friend of yours and a friend of Gail Riplinger and believes what she says. Have that friend, that member, choose a random chapter in New Age Bible versions about which they are curious and make your best attempt to look up and read every citation that she makes so you can fully defend your adoption of the exact same arguments to your friend. I recommend choosing a chapter which has nothing to do with defending the King James Bible or the Textus Receptus. And by the way, they do exist in New Age Bible versions. That way you're not criticizing the King James Bible at the same time. Next, disagree with her on 3 items in that chapter that you find amiss, and go to her privately with your criticisms and don't be mean about it. Tell her, okay, Gail, your book is always improving. You've added things to it. You've taken out some errors in it that have been in it before because you noticed that you had made a mistake and you changed it, even though she hasn't ever admitted that she did. Especially that James White recommended those changes be made. I've evaluated 3, and all 3 of them, she made the corrections that James said because she found out she was wrong, but she never talked about it. She always just said that James was a liar and a loser and everything like this. Never thanked him for correcting her. Stuff like that is not, no. Okay, anyways. Getting off track. Respond later. Okay. Continue to disagree with her and double check your own work to make sure that it's right. Yeah, my video hasn't helped. It hasn't improved. It's pretty. Yeah, I look color's terrible. much The better, colors. but I look on that side, and it's just, let's just get rid of that. I look like, you know, a blob. So yeah, send her your criticisms of those 3 points, and don't be mean about it. Gail, let's improve New Age Bible versions together. I noticed a couple of things maybe you'd be interested in. Next, carefully consider Gail's response in the light of your own research. So carefully go, okay, Gail responded this way. My criticism was this. Did she answer my question? Did she answer what I saw? Is it not a problem anymore? Carefully consider Gail's response in the light of her own research, and if she fails to adequately respond in the light of your own research, continue in your disagreement with her and double check your own work to make sure it's right and you know what you're talking about. Next, privately prepare an accessible document detailing what you have found to be amiss in New Age Bible versions in this chapter that you've evaluated with every intention, every sincere and honest intention of sending that accessible document to Gail via a link or a PDF or whatever for her review and comment. For her review and comment. Those of you that watch the debate, you've heard that said before. With every intention of sending that PDF to her. PDF or web page or however you prepare it. It's up to you. Accidentally, this is where it's going to be a little tricky. You have to do something by accident, okay? You have to purposefully accidentally let this happen. You have to accidentally allow Gail to overhear you criticizing her work to the handful of friends that I mentioned above that are your members that help fuel your channel. Now that she has accidentally overheard you criticizing her, sit back, relax. You've done your job. Now it's time for Gail to do her part. Sit back and watch and wait for a PDF exposing you as a traitor to drop on the AV Publications freebies page. 2 more steps. First, don't expect Gail to want to hear from you ever again until the judgment seat of Christ. And final step, make a public stream to explain what happened and answer any questions other friends of Gail Riplinger may have. And recommend that they follow these same steps for themselves. That whole process might sound familiar. That's exactly what happened to me. And now it's up to you. Is it going to take you 15 years to realize that you are promoting something you shouldn't be promoting? Or is it going to take you 30 years in the case of Gail? It's been 31 years since the publication of New Age Bible versions. And there are some major problems that have persisted ever since then. No one, to my knowledge, there is one person that has made similar criticisms to the ones that I have. It took me forever to find this person. Very obscure. They published a video like 15 years ago. I forget how long it was, but it was a long time. That's what I got. Let's go through the comments. That's always the funnest part. Revolution, Nick Sayers. He says, I have listened to this interaction between White and Gail many times. It kind of exposes both of them in a way. Fascinating. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, Nick. Yes, I believe Gail was repeating borrowed scholarship. I think that she was repeating to a certain extent. She did tell me at one point when we were talking that I should resurrect, that if I wanted a project, I could resurrect Michael Maynard's book and Stephen Costin Sr.'s book on King James. And, with my own everything, but, basically use their research to make a book because people can copyright their material, but they can't copyright the research. And that's a legitimate practice, but it has to be enough of your own stuff. When she recommended that, I started a deep dive on 1 John 5:7, and I found out everything that I could about it. And it was a fascinating journey. And she said I was doing it correctly. She said, you're doing the literature search without even knowing that that's what you're supposed to be doing. Good job. And I was like, so she might have borrowed some of her scholarship, but what I am criticizing in New Age Bible versions, like I've said, it's never Carl. The cat's here. The cat is back and he's better than ever. For the first time this week, Carlu's here. Tell everybody hello, Carlu. And that's right, the mic doesn't work anymore. So why is it even here? I don't know. You're going to make me itch all over my face now. But you should be down. I will see you later, buddy. Love you. I'm sure people love to see you. Okay. I don't need this anymore. Why do I even have this here? Jingle copyrighted by Hess Trucks Incorporated. All right, David Boone alerted me no audio. Blessings, brother. Keep steady says keep steady and is celebrating apparently. Audio is back. Thank you. Keep steady. Sounds good. No, it's really grainy. I'm sorry, the audio sucks and the video, so it was really grainy. I don't mind. I mainly listen to. Okay. It's grainy, but it doesn't bother me none better because it keeps more okay. One on the right, just lost audio. Audio lost again. No audio. It's back. I'm so sorry. All good now. Kept hearing all ages fixed. Thumbs up all over the place. Thanks. Keep studying. Hey Cardu. I thought the man who conducted the interview cut her off in mid-sentence. I think there's a case where he cut her off mid-sentence because they were very pressed for time. They had lots of commercials that Rich from Alpha and Omega Ministries, that he had to take out lots and lots of those. I have spoken with the guy that edited down the audio and put it all together in one piece from cassettes, I believe. And he said that all he took out was the commercials, and he put the files together into one thing. He didn't take out anything else. The host, I believe, though, did have to cut Gail off a few times. Let's see. We don't care how you look. We want to know what you think. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's good for me because I don't often look the best, if you know what I mean. I have commented before, and I see that you have removed one of my comments. I'm sorry, I don't remove comments. It might not have posted. I actually have a friend who tried leaving comments on one of my videos. He's tried over and over and over and over and over and over and over again to post this comment, and for some reason it's not letting him do it. But yeah, I don't remove comments. That's stupid. Why did you remove my comment? I don't remove comments. That's dumb. Got some things wrong according to who? Me. Sorry. And like I said, you don't have to believe me. Give us an example. I did. I'm not worried. That's good. Okay, here's a question. It's not double question or quadruple question mark. Here, let's skip down to somebody that actually did this. Here we go. Here's somebody that actually did. This is the last one. David Boone. Question. Can you give the chapter you were talking about so I can read it again? Oh, it just hurts so bad, but it's already buried in like, what, 2 hours of content? Okay. The chapter is the Final Bible, chapter 40. Yeah. And before you go back and read it again, well, not before, but make sure that you also read the Epistle of Barnabas and the Shepherd of Hermas. Oh, and also Isis Unveiled, Part 2, The Infallibility of Religion, or Theology is what it's sometimes called. And yeah, double check some stuff. You'll be surprised by what you find. So there, I said it. That's the chapter. Big secret off of my chest. Oh, let's see. Why did I remove your comment? Okay, I'm not worried. That is good. I appreciate. Here's keep steady. I appreciate you, Joseph. I've heard enough cats online who know that you aren't one who has a dog in the fight. Well, that's nice. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like yeah, these cats, not this a bad accent. These cats over here don't know what they're talking about. I don't think it's those kind of cats you mean. But yeah, I don't have a dog in this fight. I took my dog out of the fight a long time ago, and I told my dog, I sat him down and I explained him as nicely as I could. I'm not sure what to call my dog. Dog, it's time that we find the truth instead of just biting everybody that barks. Okay, so what is opinion of? I don't even. I don't know. I can look at that at some point, I guess. Not particularly germane. Audio is still good. No echo. Nice. Thank you. Keep steady. I appreciate that. Stanley Kubrick. Thank you. A Hannah. Keep steady. I believe that KJV onlyism and the flat Earth have been infiltrated and controlled opposition. Most definitely. Thank you. And yes, I would agree. Doug Wilson. Yep, that's the guy. Kept pure. I believe you would be Christian. You probably are. Hello, cat. Okay. So I don't. All I'm really hearing right now is my own echo. So I guess I don't really need all of this anyways. So I'm just gonna. Carl, you don't need to eat the cord. Stop. Bad cat. That's what the cord thinks of you right there. It's going to stay in this little ball and you're not going to play with it. Silly boy. This is going to go out of the way for now. Hi, Carl. Okay. No, you're not allowed to do that, cat. He's after my mouse. How ironic. All right. So, yes, Doug Wilson. I'm not a strict KJV onlyist, but I do find things fishy in new translations oftentimes. I agree with that. But we also have to bear in mind, like, Ruckman always said, these are advanced revelations or whatever. And what really got through to one of the friends I've recently met was somebody said, well, what if the King James translators got it right, but the meaning of the word has changed since 1611? And they were just like, wait, I never thought of that before. And they went back and they researched and they were just like, oh, shoot, actually, the King James Bible is saying the same thing as modern version. So we've got to be careful about how we put things and how we think about stuff. So just, do all of our research, which, by the way, I'm going to make a major confession right now. A major confession. If, and I don't have any definite plans, if I get myself a modern translation for me to use along with my King James and all this stuff, if I was to buy one first, I would get, from what I've done looking into it very briefly, I would get the Net Bible, the New English translation, with all of the translator's notes, because they offer it. It's called the Full Notes Edition. And it's like everything. So if I wanted to know what their philosophy was behind that translation and what they put into it and why they did what they did, I'd want to look at that, because it seems to have the most extensive notes of any translation out there. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. When I gave you a perfect example of how one word changes the meaning, you deleted my comment from your video. That'd be stupid and retarded of me. I'm sorry, I don't do that. I will check. Maybe I did it accidentally, but that's dumb. Oh, and by the way, where Gail says that, oh, they edited out my what I said. Did they though? Did they though? Forensic, software. Oh boy. How long was this response? Because what I've seen, the two programs break down pretty evenly. So it's like, okay, how long was this killer response that they felt they have? Oh, she just said something that we can't refute. Take it out. Take it out. What was that? What was that, Gail? Tell us what it was. You've been pretending since 2016 that they took something out of New Age, out of that New Age Bible versions debate you did. You've been telling us they took it all out. What did they take out? What did they remove? Tell us all about it. I'd love to know. And then I can shut up and go, oh, okay. I'm going to call Rich and I'm going to ask him what happened again. So anyways. So yeah, deleting stuff, that's shallow. That's stupid. Oh, that's what Gail does. I forgot. When Abraham was trying to obey God and sacrifice his only son Isaac, Isaac says there would be a wood in the altar and then there's a sacrifice. In NASB it says God will, but yeah, I'm aware of that. Chuck Missler really had some interesting thoughts on that, I thought, but also it's kind of like, meh. A sacrifice, the KJV says God will provide himself but yeah, but I mean, God will provide himself a sacrifice. That I'm sorry, it doesn't say as a sacrifice, that he will provide himself as a sacrifice. People that have said that include that as a double application. They don't have it as like, oh, look at that. It's saying that God's going to provide himself. There's a ram caught in the bush. It's God. We're just about to kill God. Woo! That wasn't the situation. The situation was God will provide himself a lamb. If your ear is tuned to what the King James Bible says, you read that and you go, oh, that ram is going to come because God's going to make it come. Sorry, that's just how I see things. The NASB attacks the blood of Jesus right off the bat. Oh, really? Okay. I don't know. Like I said, Facebook page. Are you making? Okay, here we go. Now, this would be evil if I was doing this. Are you making money off of this page and Facebook and YouTube? 3 question marks. I'll accept that. No, it's fine. I'll answer your question anyway. So are you making money off of this page? So I'm assuming you're referring to the BibleVersionConspiracy.com, possibly. And Facebook and YouTube. Well, I'll tell you what, I have never gotten any money from Facebook, and I've never gotten any money from YouTube. I will tell you that right now. I'm not even at the position where I could. Am I making money off of our website? No. The place where the only income that I have right now from what I'm doing, and by the way, we need it to make this happen. We need your support. And I appreciate every bit of support that I've gotten. The only support that I get is from the monthly subscriptions that our co-conspirators pay to help keep this ship floating. They like what we do. They appreciate what we do. They pay either an amount that they choose per month, or they pay the what we ask is $7 a month for full access to everything that we do. And Besides that, no. Am I going to become independently wealthy from this? No. Would I love to go even part-time doing this because I love this subject? I wouldn't be on camera if I didn't. Would I love to go full-time? Absolutely. Holy cow, I'd love it. But I don't see it happening. Let's make sure there's no other complaints about audio or video. Okay, I can turn my mouse on because the cat left. I'm not seeing. Okay. Just not Eugene Peterson. Yes. Which there are two things I'll have to say about Eugene Peterson. He is a very, very much and obviously a paraphrase, which isn't even pretending to be a Bible. So, I mean, I think there's a place for that. Mark Ward feels that there is a place for it, and the way that he argues for it, I kind of agree-ish. It's convincing, I'll say. But yeah, where he says in the Lord's Prayer, as above, so below. If Eugene Peterson is still alive, I would love to ask him where he came up with that. Because that is straight from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Straight from it. I believe that's where it came from. My mistake if I'm wrong. Oh, name one gaping hole in her documentation. Already did. Hi, new to your channel. Are you a KJVO? Like I said, figuring it out. Spray arm. Destiny. Question. I already answered that one. Nice. Hey, if Gail Riplinger would come on my channel, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I invite. Oh, so this is Nick Sayers, somebody that Gail has published a PDF about because he had the KJV 2023, and he says here, this is an official invitation to Gail Riplinger because she may and probably is watching. I invite Gail to come onto my program. I will give her 30 minutes to say anything she wants. Nick Sayers. Thank you, Nick. That is very kind of you. She had 2 whole programs before the James White debate. James White had about 5 minutes, and he was able to get out about, what was it, about 20% or so of what he actually had prepared to say, but he was only given 5 minutes. If you want to see everything that he had prepared to say as his introduction before the debate, you can check out his website and look for, or you can just Google New Age Bible Versions Refuted, and it'll come right up. For Hughes, do you affirm the KJV as inspired? Like I said, I don't know if I can do that anymore. Yeah. As given by inspiration, you gotta classify how you mean that. Sam Gipp would say that there was no perfect Bible ever until 1611, but not 1611, 1850, when they finally got everything figured out. That, I think, is ludicrous. And the reason that he says it is because Psalms 12, 6-7, that says that it'll be kept, from this generation forever. It will be preserved. All of the words of God will be preserved. Oh, what beautiful truths. But it wasn't actually preserved until 1611. Wait. Hold up. That doesn't work that way. So I wouldn't accept it that way. And like I already said earlier in the program, I maybe this was when I was muted. And once this publishes, I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to take out all of that. technology. But yeah, I hope I kind of answered your question. One of the things that I have the hardest time with, and Nick, I'm sure that you've done more work on this than I have. One of the things that James uses in his debates against textual absolutists that try to defend Erasmus or the King James translation, in Revelation, where Erasmus didn't have access to the last page or what have you of Greek, and he back translated from Latin and made Greek words that never appeared in any Greek manuscript anywhere. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But that's one of the major things where he's like, okay, so all of that was originally in the autographs, and Erasmus was inspired to write these things. But then he said himself that he had made mistakes and it was never corrected because they told the people to correct it based on an edition that had copied him, but he didn't realize it. So, upholding KJV infallibility that way is becoming increasingly difficult for me. And like I said, trying to figure things out. David says, thank you, and Revolution one more time. I would like to hear where you have issues with the 10 debates you reviewed sometime. Hey, yeah, we could talk about that. That's for sure. The biggest problem is that when you try, and this is just the nature of things, when you try to defend the King James Bible as accurately representing 110% exactly what the original autographs had, and you don't have the original autographs, you have to appeal to an argument of faith based on what the scripture says about itself. So when you go with that, then when all the textual data comes in and stuff like this, it's just like, why did we pick the King James translation exactly to be the exact representation? I even have one guy on Facebook that tells me that the Geneva Bible is an abomination because it's not exactly the King James Bible. So it's not. Okay. Anyways, that's one of the major problems, and that's just so easy to defeat because it's just like, okay, so you think that's infallible, huh? Well, how about, anyways. And it's also, I find it interesting that Peter Van Cleek actually apparently picked an edition of the Textus Receptus as the one. I like seeing that the number of views is dropping after I'm done saying what I was going to say. That's comforting. All right, so my take is that the KJV is the first time a printed Bible had all of the words in one place. Why? Why do we believe that? Well, I will tell you one major reason. 30 years ago, there was this lady that wrote a book. That's one of the main reasons why we feel this way. Before that, it was in manuscript form. It was a change of technology. I'm sorry, Nick. I've gotta disagree with you on that one. People try to say that all the time. There is no perfect manuscript of the King James Bible, so I don't think it was a technology change. Then we always go to, it was preserved in the vast body of manuscripts. Guess what? That's exactly the same thing as James White says. He says that all the readings are available in the extant Greek manuscripts because God said he would preserve his word. We have them, and it's textual criticism's job to nail down which ones are the most likely in the minutia. That's exactly the same thing that he takes for preservation. And when we try to say, oh, well, it was just preserved in all of those places until 1611. What happens if 1,000 years from now, let's say 1,000 years from now, a new translation comes out in English and everybody believes it's inspired? What are they going to say about the King James translation? They're going to say exactly the same thing that we would say about John Wycliffe's Bible. It was what they had at the time. And now what we have is infallible and inspired. And sorry, but history doesn't help anything. History is anti-theological. It's anti-confessional or something. It doesn't make any sense. So I would not agree with you on that change in technology. If I was you, hey, we can talk about it sometime. I don't remember if you have my number, but you can contact me in Messenger. We can talk about this. I don't have a problem. And we can agree to disagree, or we could figure something out, what have you. That's fine. But yeah. All right, almost 3 hours. No more comments are rolling in. I appreciate you guys. Any questions you have at all? If you think I deleted your comment or something, I don't do that. But if something else comes up in the future, oh, how about this or that? Then email me, contact me through the website, whatever. Oh, one more. But white only folks. Okay. Wait. No. Sorry. I misread that. But white only follows basically 2 manuscripts. He does admit that Westcott and Hort overemphasized their use of Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Vaticanus. He does say that. And he also said that he is happy that the modern critical editions have reincorporated some Byzantine meanings because they have found better evidence for them. And it's some Byzantine readings. They're not saying that the Byzantine text has an exemplar back in the 2nd century. They are not saying that whatsoever. Gail likes to pretend that that is what the case is when they introduce those Byzantine readings, but it's not true. It's not true. She pretended that in the debate. But white only folks basically sorry, I keep saying folks. I'm going to read the big text where it's easier for me to see. We still follow the majority manuscripts White and Co. never have. Okay, and he also explains why he doesn't follow the majority of manuscripts, and that's because the majority of manuscripts are because the only place that could write Greek manuscripts of the Bible was the area around Byzantium after the Muslims came in and wiped out the rest of North Africa and all this other stuff, and Israel and all that area. So the majority of our manuscripts are young, and the majority of them are Byzantine. But guess what? If we're going to be textual absolutists and we want to say the King James Bible is exactly the way that it should be and all this stuff, and we're going to start using majority text arguments, 1 John 5:7 is a classic example of sorry, no can do. And we can talk like Gail wanted to do in the debate, just rattle off all of the evidence for 1 John 5:7. And I'm not saying that I reject it. I am not. But I am saying is that we cannot consistently use a majority text argument if we're going to advocate for the Textus Receptus or the King James Bible, because both of them have minority text readings in them. I'm sorry. Like Gail. Oh, this person, James White in the background. That's the wrong year. This person, Gail, is it in the majority manuscripts? Pause. I don't see how that I don't see how that matters or whatever. I don't see the point you're trying to make or whatever like this. It's like, you know exactly what point, Gail. You have Judy Pinalto right there on the line going, we need the majority text. We're talking about the majority manuscripts. The majority text has to, the Textus Receptus, it has to. And then 1 John 5:7 comes up and Gail has to hammer off the evidence for it, unnecessarily in my opinion. And then James just has to be like, hey, wait a second. Is that in the majority text, Gail? We're upholding the majority text, right? I don't see how that matters. And I'm not saying that I reject 1 John 5:7. If Gail gets a hold of this, which I'm sure she's probably watching right now, sorry. She's going to twist that all up to make it sound like I reject 1 John 5:7. Holy cow. You are well aware, Gail Riplinger, of the research that I've put into 1 John 5:7. I think it is a very, 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 very early reading, if not original. Anyways. Revolution again. And hey, we're going to have a debate, I guess, Nick Sayers, right here live on... I appreciate what you're saying. I get where you're coming from, but the problem is that if we're going to have, you know, somebody fighting James White in a debate or whatever like this, and we're going to say majority text whatever, ultimately it just comes down to our conclusion is that the Textus Receptus and the King James Bible are the exact copy of the original autographs. And the majority text and the Byzantine text, it doesn't have any bearing on that whatsoever. So we can make all of the arguments that we want to about church fathers say this, and the Latin Vulgate says that, and the Latin copies say this, and the majority text says that, and all this stuff and stuff like this. But all that we're really doing is just really we're wasting time. Because eventually it all just comes back to, I believe that the King James Bible is exactly what the autographs are. And that's really what it boils down to. The Byzantine text is a base. All Reformation Bibles reflect them. That it was, yeah, well, I mean. So all Reformation Bibles and Greek text reflect that it was everywhere and well known when. And yeah, just like I said, and I don't want to change this into a debate, a stream discussing the debates that James White has had, because I think that should be reserved for other streams where I actually have reactions to the debates that White has done. I could probably rate them at a scale of 1 to 10 if that's helpful. Let's see, the Textus Receptus used to be called the majority text. It probably did. White uses this as a sleight of hand. Okay, I'd love to see where. The majority text may, or well, it could also not be a sleight of hand. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. So we'll figure that out together. The majority text in the 80s is not what I'm talking about. Absolutely, I'm not. I know you're not talking about that. But I'm also talking, and I'm also saying, I'm sorry, but no manuscript matches the Textus Receptus. I'm sorry, Nick, but you know that's true. It doesn't match it in every spot, and you know it. No manuscript actually apparently matches everything exactly, unless you read Jack McElroy, and then there's a couple of them that do, apparently, like snowflakes, I suppose. But anyway, and of course, it's not that they don't match like at all. You know, they are very close, and a lot of the differences are like, you know, the spellings and things like this. I know, I'm aware of these things. Remember, I'm not new to this discussion. And I appreciate your input, Nick. I'm not trying to shout you down. I'm not trying to monologue over top of you. You know, I think that it would be good for us to continue this discussion in private, probably, where we could have more free exchange. It's kind of hard to do it through comments on a YouTube video when you're trying to talk. So anyways, I appreciate it. I do. I really do. Nick, you are probably the one person who is that is much. And no, that's probably the wrong way to put it. Let's see. You have put your timestamps on your videos dwarf mine completely. Like, you know, you put way more study into this kind of stuff, and you know a little bit of Greek. I've referred to you on several things, and I appreciate your work, and I appreciate that you interviewed me. That's how Brian Ross even found out I existed. So, and I appreciate him as a friend too. So anyway, for what it's worth, I think that'll probably be about it. I hope I've answered everybody's questions so far. There are several people that tuned in tonight. I appreciate it very much. And ultimately, and here, yeah, sure, Revolution. He says, sure, no worries. He understands. He's one of these guys that uses StreamYard and has a channel and understands how things are. He has a life outside of the camera, just like any of us do. And, you know, the struggle is real. Struggle is real. Let's see. Is there anything else that I wanted to mention? What time is it? It is 10:48. So am I going to do a secret stream? Good question. Probably not. Those are a little bit easier to do on streams where, you know, I'm figuring things out. On this one, if we did have a secret stream, it would be lost forever. And because I would have to, well, not that I would have to crop it off per se. It would have to just not be recorded, because then it would be on the end of this file and it's just whatever. All right, I think that's going to be good. I appreciate it, guys. Oh, and don't forget to read your Bible like the devil's after it. Because he is. And there truly is a Bible version conspiracy. I say a sinner's prayer with you in private later. Joke. Nick. Anyways. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And have a good night. God bless.